There was an old lady sitting under a tree, and Iyanla was her name, and this is what she said to me. Nessa girl, I went down to the salon and told her to give me an old nasty 1990s Tia and Tamara side ponytail so I can hit you with that whip action. Yes, God, honey. Hello Home Slices, is here with Home Slice Adulting, coming to you with my review for Iyanla Fix My Life Season 5 Episode 509 called Witness to a Killing, Philando's Fiancé, featuring Diamond Reynolds. For those of you who did not get the joke, at the beginning of this video I was paying homage to Funky Dineva. Now for those of you who do not know who Funky is, you may want to check out his YouTube channel. He's hilarious, he's been in the YouTube game a very long time, and he is part of the reason why I decided to start my own YouTube channel. Before we get into this video, I would like to thank all of my new subscribers and my soon to be new subscribers for clicking on this video. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, but more importantly, don't forget to hit that notification bell down here next to the subscribe button so a little birdie can chirp and tell you when I post new content to my channel. I've really gotten to a point where my views are up, my comments are up, my likes are up, but unfortunately my subscriber count is still pretty low. So I figured it's time for me to start really focusing on growing my channel, and you're going to want to come along for that ride. So don't forget to subscribe. With no further ado, let's actually get to the meat and potatoes of this video and talk about what happened in this week's episode of Iyanla Fix My Life. Now typically I'm very eager to watch Iyanla Fix My Life to see what drama is going on, what healing is going on in the episode. Interestingly enough, one of the guests from last week's Iyanla Fix My Life episode contacted me on social media, and that was a complete surprise to me. So shout out to you, Lauren. Now unfortunately this time around for this particular episode of Iyanla Fix My Life, I wasn't that eager to watch the episode because there's something particularly special about Philando Castile's murder that separates him from the murders of so many other black people at the hands of police. When it comes to other people's deaths that were highly publicized, people have excuses like, oh, he was resisting arrest. Oh, he knew he wasn't supposed to be selling CDs out of his trunk, or loose cigarettes, or, you know, he robbed a grocery store, or you know, he got high every once in a while, or he was holding what looked like a real gun. A lot of people have a lot of excuses and whatnot when it comes to how people died, but there's something about Philando's death that stands out as a death that people just simply cannot explain away with circumstances. He was complying when he was murdered, and so in a special way that makes Philando almost the perfect martyr. And it feels weird to say that, but I think you all understand what I'm saying. Just thinking about the whole situation makes me very sad, and I guess that's why I wasn't feeling super eager to do this review. But I do have a duty to my YouTube channel and a commitment to my subscribers, so let's go ahead and get into it. Now first up we meet Diamond Reynolds, who is 28 years old. I was surprised that she was actually so young. I thought that she may have been like at least in her 30s, but the fact that she is such a young person helps me to understand why she's having such a hard time with what happened to her. So apparently she says that she's very guarded and that she's here on Iyanla Fix My Life to let those guards down, to be a better person and to be a better mother. Apparently she and Philando knew each other for 10 years, were together for 4, and she says that Philando brought structure into her life and that he changed her life for the better. She talks about some of the events that happened on the day that he was killed. Apparently he had a gun because they lived in a dangerous neighborhood. It's not a crime to have a gun if you're not a felon, and from what I understand, he was not. Iyanla basically makes Diamond say from her mouth that Philando was murdered. Iyanla has this thing about calling a thing. Say what it really is, and by not denying what it really is, you take away the power that, you know, those words have over you. But moving on, Diamond knows how long Philando has been gone, since his, like, down to the number of days that he's been gone. She says she does not put RIP in front of his name because she doesn't want it to feel real that he's actually gone. She tells the story of what happened, and they show some of the footage from, you know, the police car, and they show the footage from the Facebook live stream, and tears are like welling up in my eyes, and I just cannot imagine what it was like to be in a car with the man that I love, watch him get shot so many times, and watch the life leave his body, praying that none of the bullets like miss and hit me or hit my child in the back seat. Like, that has to be totally, utterly, completely terrifying. It's terrifying to watch, let alone be a part of that experience. And so my heart goes out to her. I, you know, was basically in tears almost watching this footage back again. And like I said, this is what makes Philando's story a little different from other people's stories, because he was doing what he was supposed to do. Now, Iyanla asked Diamond what would she say to the officer who killed Philando, and essentially she said that she and her daughter are scarred for life. But Iyanla wants Diamond to know that even though this situation happened to you and you and your daughter have been scarred, you can take power and control over this situation so that the trauma from this does not stop you from living your best life. Iyanla emphasizes that the officer who killed Philando has to deal with the fact that he killed someone and that he killed an innocent person, essentially. And that Iyanla says that just because the officer has to live in that headspace, that Diamond does not have to live in that space anymore. And Iyanla suggests that Philando is the shadow as opposed to the main event. She was saying that when big events happen in your life, there are smaller events that are just showing you a little bit of a shadow of what's to come, and that maybe bigger and better things are coming into Diamond's life, and Philando was just the shadow of that. Next we see Miss Sabrina, who is Trayvon Martin's mother. 5 years ago, we all know that Trayvon Martin was shot by a neighborhood watchman gone rogue. But Sabrina has been doing her best to get the word out, to help people who have gone through similar situations, and that's what she's here to do for Diamond on today. Sabrina feels that some of the ways that we can make progress so that things like this don't happen anymore is that officers need to have cultural diversity and sensitivity training, and that it's just a shame that some officers feel the need to deny somebody due process for their crimes by killing them. I mean, that's something that we're all entitled to in the Constitution, is due process. And it's sad that police officers are so afraid or feel such a big need to exert their authority that they kill somebody before that person even has a chance to defend themselves using the justice system. Now, Iyanla feels like Sabrina can offer something to Diamond because they have similar experiences, and I feel it's so unfortunate that people have to form communities for Black women who have lost people in their lives at the hands of police officers who were overzealous or afraid, and it's just sad that it has even come to this. So next they bring Diamond into the conversation, and Iyanla wants to point out that Diamond has a severe lack of support, and that's because Diamond was not Philando's wife. And unbeknownst to me, the little girl who was in the back seat was not Philando's child. So the fact that she does not have any blood or marriage ties to Philando means that she has not gotten the support that his mother and his other family members have. Now, what Sabrina suggests is that Diamond finds a support group in her area and that she dwells in positivity and gets rid of all the negativity in her life. She gives her some biblical advice from Proverbs 3:5-6, a very well-known Bible verse: trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not into your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. And Sabrina said that she was denying her calling of using her traumatic experience to help others because she just wanted her son back. but I think now she's able to stand in her purpose as someone who is meant to help people who have had similar experiences. Next, we see Iyanla talking to a retired police officer named Corey. I can't pronounce his last name. Now, one thing I like about Iyanla is she doesn't care who you are. She doesn't pull any punches. Iyanla says that people don't trust the police because the police try to explain away things that we see with our own eyes and hear with our own ears. She gave the example of Rodney King being beaten and all of the excuses that the LA Police Department gave for saying that they were justified in beating the crap out of this man. And we see and hear that type of thing all of the time. And my question is, how can we trust the police when it feels like the only people they protect is each other? Now, according to Corey, the way that we change this dynamic between civilians and police is to make sure that the leaders in these police departments are properly vetting their police officers. He gives the example that the officer who killed Tamir Rice was actually recently fired from a different police department and was hired by another police department in the next town over when he killed Tamir Rice. Now, I didn't know anything about his employment history until he had just said it. But how much do you want to bet that all he had to do was to get a cop buddy of his to put in a good word for him at this other police department so that he could get a job? It's really that simple. Now, I worked as a dispatcher for a police department for 4.5 years, and if there's anything that I can attest to is about the shady politics of what happens in police departments. Many officers have this weird, almost unmerited loyalty that they feel for one another, to the point where they will deny citizens of their rights to protect each other. And there's nothing wrong with police officers having each other's backs. There is a certain amount of loyalty and camaraderie that you need to have with your brother in arms or your sister in arms, to know that when something goes down, you have people looking out for you. But your main job as officers is to protect and serve the public. So if your camaraderie with your brother or sister in arms is denying someone in the public, that's denying a civilian their rights, then you don't need to have that type of loyalty. There's a way to have somebody by your side that's going to have your back without impeding and encroaching on the rights of the people that you have vowed to protect. To be fair, on the other hand, citizens don't understand what police officers go through. There are very stressful times that police officers go through. They have to make decisions on the drop of a dime. They risk their lives every day. So I think that both sides, the police and civilians, could stand to understand each other just a little bit better. And just to verify, not all police officers are bad and not all civilians are bad. Corey says on the civilian side that civilians need to learn how to comply, then complain. Essentially, they need to escape with their lives so they can live to fight another day. Iyanla is too real for me. Iyanla says, I'm teaching my grandson to be a proud black man and to hold his head up. And how do I reconcile that with telling him that during any interaction with police that he needs to bow his head? That's not consistent with the pride that I'm instilling in my grandchild. Now, Corey says that, you know, Iyanla's grandson is definitely supposed to be a proud black man, but the end goal is for him to make it home at the end of the day. So essentially, he shouldn't take any actions that would prevent him from going home at the end of the night. But Philando wasn't doing anything wrong and he still didn't go home. Then he says civilians have to stop giving police officers excuses. And Iyanla says, not on my watch. Now, Corey didn't mean it the way that Iyanla took it. What Corey was saying is that civilians are under the impression that police officers need training in order for things to change. What Corey is saying is that by civilians calling for new training, they give police departments a way out, because all police departments have to do is basically say, we're starting a new training pilot program, and the heat is off of them because that's a PR move. What Corey is saying is that instead of civilians asking for new training programs, civilians need to hold police departments responsible for the existing training programs that clearly don't work. I get what he's saying by that. Now, one thing that Iyanla and Corey can agree on is that every officer that is employed is not fit to be a cop. I can tell you that firsthand. Now, in my city right now, police officers are hunting for another police officer who allegedly beat his girlfriend and falsely imprisoned her. Now, the fact of the matter is that because he's a police officer, it's going to be that much harder to find him. But the question is, do you think that this is the first time that he's hit his girlfriend? Do you think that this is the first time that something like this has happened? And to be completely honest, this is not the first time in that particular police department that someone has been fired for a domestic abuse situation. The problem is that police departments see this behavior, they know about this behavior, and they choose to ignore it, and then it's a problem when it comes to the light. Now, at this point, Corey agrees to have a conversation with Diamond Reynolds. Diamond and Corey sit down to have this conversation, and Diamond expresses that it's hard for her to trust police officers because she associates them with death. And while that's a terrible sentiment, I think all of us can understand why she feels that way. Now, Corey suggests that Diamond should reach out to the police department and use that as an opportunity to speak to police officers about how Philando's death has impacted her life, and talk about all the good that he had done, what type of person he was, to kind of humanize him. And even if she can help just a few police officers think twice before they use deadly force, it would be a great thing for the police officers to hear, and a great way for her to try and heal herself. Now, Iyanla and Diamond want to know what would happen if the police department was not open to give Diamond that opportunity. And basically, Corey says the police department would not want to deal with the backlash of denying you that opportunity, which is totally true. Now, Corey appears to be shocked that the local police department that employed the person who killed Philando Castile has not reached out to Diamond. And again, Iyanla has to emphasize that all of the support has gone to Philando's family and none to Diamond, despite the fact that she had to experience this ordeal in person. Now, Iyanla and Diamond also point out the fact that a lot of these police departments solely rely on financial assistance to basically get these families off of their backs after their family members have been murdered at the hands of the police. Instead of actually digging deep into the histories and the hearts of their police officers, into the policies and procedures of the police department. It has to go deeper than, oh, I killed your family member, here's a couple $100,000 and we hope that, you know, us not being able to bring back your family member is okay now that you're a little bit richer for it. Now, I would like to know what this officer Corey is doing to actually help enact some of these theories that he has about changing the way policing works in America. Is he actually a person who's out there going to different police departments, helping them change their policies and procedures? I'm really interested to know that. Next, we see a woman named Lindsay, who apparently is an expert in the energy field tapping method, which helps you to get rid of negative energy. Y'all, this was real weird. You could tell Diamond was a little bit apprehensive because she thought they were going to be hypnotizing her to forget about Philando. It was kind of weird to watch, but it also was kind of therapeutic to watch because we kind of got to see Diamond go through this realization and this moment where you could kind of see some of the weight come off of her. So they're legitimately tapping areas on her body, and while she's tapping these areas on her body, she is saying things about how she was impacted by Philando's death. She's talking about how she's not able to sleep at night, and Iyanla gets her to the point to basically admit that Philando is gone and admit that all of the things that they were supposed to have together are things that can't happen anymore. But that doesn't mean that Diamond doesn't have an opportunity to have a great life. Something terrible and traumatic happened to her. She will never forget that. She will never forget Philando Castile, but she can take away the power that this trauma is having over her. And you could just see kind of like a weight is lifted off of her shoulder, and that basically Diamond is giving herself permission to have a good life, even though it's going to be without Philando. Now in the end, Diamond seems like she has really come away with some great skills that she can use to move forward in her life, and I absolutely love that. I love wonderful outcomes on Iyanla Fix My Life. Now we find out that Diamond is moving forward with her life, and she's really moving forward now that the city of St. Anthony, Minnesota has granted her a settlement for $800,000, but unfortunately the police department still has not reached out to her. Let me tell you something. I understand that $800,000 will never bring back Philando Castile, but if I get $800,000, I don't need to talk to no police department. The only people I need to talk to are Jesus, my therapist, and my financial advisor. Okay, so Diamond, I hope that you are out there living your best life, healing, growing, learning from all of this, and having the opportunity to live and love again. Thank you guys for watching my review of Iyanla Fix My Life. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and peace out, home slices. I'll talk to you later, girl. Bye.